Hello everybody and welcome back to the Calvinism channel. In this episode we're going to look at the biography of a famous Calvinist missionary, William Carey. He is also known as the father of modern missions, and I think it's interesting that such a title would be given to a missionary who was Calvinist by conviction. We are going to read pages 309 to 311 from the book The Story of Christianity, which is a history book on the Christian religion by the author Justo L. Gonzalez. During its first century in operation, the British East India Company opposed missionary work, for it feared that Christian preaching would produce tensions and riots that would hinder trade. This policy met little opposition in England, where interest in missions was scarce. It was partly as a result of the efforts of William Carey that these conditions changed, and therefore he has properly been called the founder of modern missions. Although reared in an Anglican household, William Carey had become a Baptist. A teacher and cobbler by trade, he was fascinated by the news of new lands that Captain Cook was discovering in the Pacific. Joining his faith to his awareness of distant lands, he came to the conviction, unusual in his time, that Christians had the obligation to preach the gospel to those in far countries who had never heard it. After much criticism, he was able to gather a number of like-minded people, and thus created the Particular Baptist Society for propagating the gospel amongst the heathen. When the society proved unable to find someone to send as a missionary, Carey himself decided to go, and in 1793 he finally landed in Calcutta with his family and a physician who was to accompany him in his labors. The difficulties were many. Characteristically, on one occasion he wrote to his supporters in England that there were obstacles all around, and that therefore there was no alternative but to move ahead with the project. His zeal, and particularly his reports to England, resulted in a new interest in missions. He was eventually joined by a second contingent of missionaries. Since the British East India Company would not allow the new arrivals to settle in Calcutta, Carey moved his residence to nearby Serampore, and this became the headquarters of the entire enterprise. He and his associates, one of whom was a printer, felt that one of their first tasks was to make the Bible available to the Indian population. And now some major accomplishments of William Carey. Carey had an unusual gift for learning languages. By his death he had translated the Bible, or part of it, into 35 languages. He also devoted his efforts to putting an end to the burning of widows on their husbands' funeral pyres, and on both scores he attained remarkable success. Carey's work and the reports that reached both Britain and the United States inspired many to emulate him. Many of the missionary societies founded early in the 19th century owed their existence to his influence. Increasing numbers of Christians, having heard of Carey's exploits, felt called to similar careers, and in 1813, when the charter of the British East India Company came up for renewal, Parliament included in the new charter a clause granting missionaries free access to areas under company control. And thank God for the blessed ministry of William Carey.